I'm completely ill-prepared in terms of my clothing today for the microphone situation. For those of you who know, you should have a collar or a belt or a pocket. I completely screwed up, so I'm just going to walk around holding this thing kind of oddly. They offered me a handheld mic, but being of Italian background, I talk too much with my hands, and I thought then that you wouldn't be able to hear me because I'd be doing this and the mic would be out there, and that would be like a very bad thing. In any case, I am here today to talk to you a little bit about the future of books, something that I feel personally very passionately about. I am the daughter of an English professor. I grew up reading books, and I just, unlike so many women who cannot pass by a shoe store, I can't pass by a bookstore without running in and purchasing something. So it's no surprise that when it came time to do another company, books are so near and dear to my heart that I thought, I've just got to do something that's about books. Well, of course, I start to do this at a moment in time when those of us here who are in print media and create print media are completely terrified about the future of print media. I mean, it's like, oh my God, every day I read. In fact, that's one of the concerns, nobody reads anymore, right? Newspapers and magazines are folding. Books are dead. Now I'm here to tell you that I'm going to call complete bullshit on that because I don't think that's true. In fact, last year, in the height of the recession, 4% fewer books were purchased worldwide than in the previous year. Only 4% decline in the height of a worldwide recession. And I'm going to speculate that at least 4% more books were read using digital medium than in past years. But you know what is so fascinating about this is that I think what it's doing is it's masking, those numbers are masking the most amazing transformation. And that is the sheer number of people now who are able to and are making books eclipses anything we've ever seen in humankind. So what I'm going to say here is I think we are witness right now to an amazing advent of creativity, of passion, of engaged people. The most literate people to ever walk the face of the planet are producing books in numbers. And to that I say, woohoo, right? Like big time, woohoo, that is just tremendously awesome. One of the things that we do at Blurb, those of you who may or may not know, is that we enable many folks to make books. You can use our free software, you can download it, you can use your own tools, you can make a book, whatever you like. You get it back in about a week. You can put it in our public bookstore, you can set your price for it, and then you can keep 100% of the proceeds. Now, those of you, how many of you have ever had a book traditionally published in the past? Oh, quite a few. So you know that business of, you get it back in a week and you keep 100% of the profits is, kind of different, kind of new, right? And so one of the very cool things about Blurb is what that does is if you think about traditional publishing as being an economy of scarcity, now what's happening is we're an economy of abundance. And what that means is that unlike in years past, it's driving the democratization of authorship. It's not just the technology that we can use now to consume books, it's all about who gets to make a book. So for all of us in this room who have a story to tell, a brand to promote, a portfolio to produce, a blog book to write, a 70-pound cookbook that comes on a crate, the news is glorious because you now can. Now, I wanted to share with you a couple of really great examples of this. I talk about blog books and cookbooks, etc., but it's really true. And so a small little subroutine. So last year I was stranded on an airplane at LAX on the runway. And I was sitting next to the gentleman in the seat, and we struck up a conversation. It turns out he was the CTO at Pixar. And he was telling me about that. How many of you have seen Up, the movie Up? Yeah, fabulous, right? And he was telling me about that little 4-minute sequence. You all who saw it know what I'm talking about, which is if you're human, you can't watch that without tearing up a little bit. And he was telling me about this without telling me what it was. He just said, you have to go see it. And I was so struck by his story that When it came time when we shipped a more recent release of our software, I said, okay, people, we're going to go play hooky. And we're going to take a parade. Those of you who know Market Street in San Francisco, 60 of us walked down Market Street. We had a little envelope with $10 each, so we could buy popcorn and a soda. And we went to see Pixar's Up movie in 3D with our geeky 3D glasses. And ratchet forward about 6 weeks later, into the office comes this book. And I have to tell you, it was completely one of those moments where I just thought, oh my God, they made a book, they made a Blurb book of that fantastic movie. And you know what's so cool about this? This is not a book that would ever have been produced by traditional publishing, because it was all about the passion. It was all about the humanity. It was all about the people involved in producing this book, and producing this movie, and that these people will forever and a day have something remarkably tangible to remember their experience together. And like, totally, how cool is that? That we just had a big celebration. In fact, we all dressed up at Halloween, and our print production manager, who looks remarkably like this Asian gentleman here, dressed up in honor of the movie, and we took pictures and we sent them to Pixar. So that's the Up movie book. A couple of other things I'd like to share with you, and that is that it is about the humanity. Books now don't have to be agents of sales. The old way that traditional publishing valued a book was its sellability. How many units will it sell? And Blurb is here to say, that's great. There's nothing wrong with making money on books. I hope you all sell 20,000. That'd be awesome. But you know what? It's not only about that. It's about capturing the humanity, the passion, the story. And now I'd like to share one other book with you. I'm going to show it up on the screen here, that I also have live to show you all. I brought a couple copies because this book is so remarkable that I think you're all going to want to pick it up in your hands and take a look at it as well. Okay, so one of the great things about my job, and I do have the most awesome job in the world, because I get to see things come over the transom. And there used to be times when we first started 4 years ago, where I could look at every book that came in on the server, in a day. Now, last month, just to put some hard facts on it, last month at our peak volumes, we saw a new book title come in every 1.1 seconds. So that's not an order. That's like somebody's passion. That's like somebody's masterpiece. Somebody's, ugly dog book came in once every 1.1 seconds. How cool is that? But then this book came in, and I thought, oh, I love that cover. I just love that. And so I thought, well, let me look at this book. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you can read this in the back. Michael, will you hold that for 1 second for me? Because I do just need you to click through one slide forward there. Just give me a little click there. There you go. I want to read you, just bear with me for just 10 seconds here. But it starts out saying, my name is Albert Inzer Bowman, and they have said that I'll lose most of my memories. Well, folks, at this point, I just closed the book. I'm like, oh my God. But then I reopened the book and I thought, okay, what is this about? And it says, I have some stored up feelings about it, but I hope mostly that everyone will just remember me. You hope you were enough, that everyone will be okay. So before I am gone, I want to leave what I can of myself in these pages, something that can survive time and generations longer than we can, something that can't be erased, and as it is, carried along in your memories. So then I thought, oh my God, what is this book? Can I grab that back from you? And I started to page through it. And then I looked some more, and I thought, who is this? I mean, it's clearly sounded like the story of someone who was, you know, a senior citizen, and yet this beautiful design. So what ended up happening was I contacted the person whose name is on the cover of that book, who's named Leslie Graham, and I'll quickly tell you the story she's told me. She's an art student graduating from university in Alabama. She comes from a town called Cropwell, Alabama, and Albert was her grandpa. And Albert passed away 6 months previously, and she and her mother drove to Texas to go to his funeral. And her story, and forgive me, I don't do a very good Alabama, but I'll give it my best because it really adds some color. She said, you know, my grandpa was a preacher man, and he owned a Dairy Queen. And you know, how it doesn't get any better than that, right? So I'm like transfixed, and I'm on the phone. I'm starting to write this down because I realize she's telling me something really important here. She's telling me about this story of how she goes to the funeral, and because she's the art girl in her family, she's asked to do a couple poster boards for the funeral parlor, and she does, and through that process, she gets a box of this man's artifacts of his life. And she puts together the boards, and then she decides, you know what, she's going to take it back to school because she doesn't know what she's going to do with it. But there's something there. There's something powerful there that everybody needs to know about. And she makes this book. She makes this book, and she presents this book as her thesis to the panel of 8 professors. And she didn't have enough money to buy copies for each, so they had to share. And she had to sit there. And you all have been through that thesis process. It's terrifying, right? And she's 20 years old. And she said she was really scared when no one said anything. And then she realized because they were crying. And that's the story she told me on the phone. And I want to show you just a couple more images from this book. And if you catch me in the hallway, I'll tell you the postscript to her story, which is every bit as amazing as the first part. And here's your grandpa fading out in the book. And here's the last thing I swear to you, as the daughter of an Irish Catholic mother, this is the last thing that she said to me on the phone. And that's the kind of books that we see. It's the kind of book I hope we can make together here at the EG conference, because the power is in your connection to what goes on here and what you learn here. And hopefully every one of us will have that in physical, tangible form, so that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we'll all remember who we were when, and this gathering here today. Thank you all.
Thank you.